let's talk about the cost of living in Southeast Asia. That's Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines. You're gonna run around roughly the same cost, if not just a bit off. The countries I have most experience in is Vietnam and Thailand, because I've been here the longest, and these are the places that I actually pay rent and lived in. So, the biggest cost that you're gonna have is for accommodation. Here in Phuket, I'm renting a basic place, 1 bedroom and a private washroom for 1,000 baht a day. That's $1,200 Canadian for a month. In Vietnam, a similar place with a small kitchen is gonna run you $30 a day. So that's $900 Canadian per month. If you're renting with a partner, then that's gonna be a big saving for you. If the person has an income and is willing to share the rent. So you can cut that in half or whatever split you wanna do. But assuming you live by yourself, that's the cost of accommodation, which is your biggest single expenditure here in Vietnam. And I'm not talking about, if you go out to party or spend on luxury items. I'm just talking about the basic things you need for a typical guy to live in Asia. So the next single biggest expense you're gonna incur is for food. Depending if you're going out or eating in, you're gonna spend a fair bit of amount of money. Especially if you go on dates, expect to spend a lot more. If you have a partner, likely you're gonna go grocery and you're gonna cook at home more, which is a great idea because not only is it cleaner, healthier, because you prepare by yourself, but it's also much cheaper and more fun to cook with someone. But assuming that you eat out, a typical meal would run you around 100 baht here. And in Vietnam, it's roughly 100,000. So that's around $4 to $6 Canadian. If you eat 3 times a day, then you multiply it up by 3, about $15. But sometimes I'll eat twice a day because the more you guys eat, the slower you become because you're always satiated. If you're full, it's hard to concentrate, it's hard to work, you're gonna feel sleepy, and you're gonna waste all your time. Eating itself consumes time. Waiting for the food to be served to your table, ordering, paying the bill, and then actually eating the food, and then resting to digest it. So, assuming I eat only twice a day, I'm gonna spend roughly about $10 Canadian in a day. So multiply that by 30, you get $300. So between rent and eating, that's $1,500 a day in Canadian. In American, that's around $1,100. How about entertainment? That vary from people to people. You guys might want to go order bottle service and get a table and get chicks at your table in the club. Then your cost is going to run very high. It's in thousands of baht per night. But if you guys want to go into a bar or a club, just dance a little bit, get a beer or two, it's going to be fairly inexpensive here. I don't drink that much. Typically I drink like once or twice a month, even that. If I'm in a nightlife area or friends invite me, then I might. Otherwise, I don't even drink at all. I can go a whole year or two without even drinking, and it doesn't faze me. But a drink here would run you around 100 baht on average. So that's $4. And if you guys are drinking at just a local bar, somewhere like Boi Vien, where you're sitting on the street and drinking, you can get beer as cheap as $1. And you get to see people go by and listen to music and talk to your friends. It's pretty chill too. But if you go to a bar where there's ladies, they're dancing, they keep you company, then expect to pay more for the drinks, and also you gotta tip them. So you guys gotta calculate all that fun stuff yourself. If your hobby is just simple things like going to the beach, having a swim, or going to the park, walk around the mall, watching TV, having some people over watching a movie, then of course your lifestyle is gonna be much cheaper. The third one is, the fourth one is about traveling. Of course, when you're here, you want to do road trip, maybe you want to fly around from place to place, because in Asia it's very convenient to fly around to different cities. They're all very close by. So a flight ticket is going to run you 100 to 200 Canadian for a one-way ticket if you're going somewhere near, such as Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Singapore. But if you're flying far, such as the Philippines, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, it's going to get higher. It's going to range from $200 to $500 per ticket. In some places, you can even take a bus. So from Phuket, I can take a bus to go up to Bangkok instead of flying. So a flight might cost me right now about $100, maybe a little less. But if I take a bus up there, it's going to cost me about half that, $60 one way. And when you're there, you got to rent a hotel. Of course, still got to buy food. So I guess you can take it out of your food expenditure. But for the rent, if you're keeping a permanent place and then you go and travel and paying for hotels while you're traveling, then you can add on the additional expense for accommodation. And if you're traveling with a partner and you're forking all the costs, then you gotta multiply that by 2 as well, or maybe sometimes 3, because you may not want to eat street food all the time or live in the cheapest hotels or lodging. If you have a partner, you may want to spend a little more. I don't know, maybe you want to impress her, maybe you want to treat her to something nice, I'm not sure. But typically that's the case. You travel with someone, you're not going to be as comfortable living in a shabby place, so you're going to spend more money. And then there's transportation around the city. You may want to rent a motorbike, or you may want to take the taxi, a grab bike, like a motorcycle taxi, or you might want to walk. If you live in a place like Patong here in Phuket, it's very walkable. So I don't expect you're going to spend a lot of money on transportation. But typically it's very cheap getting around in Asia. Phuket, I would say, is actually the most expensive one. If you take a tuk-tuk here, it's going to cost you $8 Canadian, 200 baht. And if you're willing to wait for a Grab, sometime it comes, sometime it doesn't, it's going to cost you 100 baht, which is $4. But you're going to wait a long time. So you may want to pay the 200 baht if you're in a rush. And if you rent yourself a motorbike, it's going to cost you around 2 to 3 million Vietnamese. Or here, it's going to cost you 250 baht a day. So we're going to run that around $100 to $150 a month. And then you got to add on insurance. If you're living here a long time, you might want to buy health insurance, and that varies from guys to guys. So if you're older, you have health condition, you smoke, whatever, it's going to add up. But typically, insurance, it's going to be $45 a month for a young, healthy guy. The last topic might be for shopping. So if you guys are out here and you're buying clothing, shoes, hats, or accessories, if you want new wallets or watches, then you got to add on that cost as well. But typically, I don't shop that much. I'm a minimalist. I don't like to carry around too much stuff. So as you can see, I don't wear watches or jewelry, anything like that. In fact, I haven't worn my earring in so long that I think my ear pierce has completely closed. And then you can add in the little stuff like that you use every day, like shampoo, toothpaste, or personal hygiene products. It's actually not that much. Maybe $30 to $50 a month will cover all those basic expenses. Unless you're using like high-end designer products for your face. Skincare might be the most expensive one. But in terms of like, if you guys go for cologne, you might want to spend money on a good cologne bottle. I think that's a good investment. You're gonna smell good, it's gonna serve you in the long run. But everything else is gonna be really cheap. Other costs might be personal care, like getting a haircut, going for a massage once in a while. If you guys are a woman, you might want to go do your nails, all that stuff, your hair. Get your hair washed. And all those things are very cheap here in Asia. For example, a massage might run you $80 to $100 in Toronto, Canada, but here it's going to be $10. And you tip them $1. Sometimes you go for a massage in Canada, $10 is the tip. A haircut here is going to run you $3, so you get a cut once or twice a month. That's still almost nothing. And you don't have to tip when you get a haircut here, unless you want to. So $3, you can tip them 50 cents or $1 is fine. So yes, everything is quite cheap here to get. You can lead a very comfortable lifestyle. You don't have to spend fancy parasailing or scuba diving, going on ski-doo. That's not things that you do all the time. Same with healthcare. If you guys are fairly healthy, you don't have to go for like check up that much for your health or your dental or blood works. But if you have another citizenship, like Canadian, you can go back there and do your health check once a year, and then you split your time between Asia and Canada, for example. That's going to save you the cost to do all the health checks and stuff like that. But if you are going to do health checks here in Asia, I've done some in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, and that's going to run you $20 for a checkup. If you're going to do some dental cleaning, or you want to ask some question about a concern that you have about your health, to see the doctor is $20 Canadian, and that is international standard healthcare. So that's like a really clean place. Fast service, nice people, knowledgeable doctor. And in fact, if you have questions, you can even add the doctor to your contact list and message him on WhatsApp to ask further questions. And I'm not sure you can do that in Canada, but I have never done that, to add a personal contact for a doctor or a dentist or a dermatologist and ask them follow-up questions. No way. But in Vietnam, at least, I was able to do that, and that was an amazing experience because they're very helpful, they're very knowledgeable. So that will cost you about $20 to get a checkup, to see them, ask questions, but there's usually going to be medicine as well. So they're going to sell you some kind of pills, depending on what kind of condition you have, or some kind of ointment, and that's going to run you roughly $30 if it's nothing too complicated. So on average, you could spend $50 per visit like that to the dentist, dermatologist, ENT. That's a ear, nose, and throat doctor. But if you're a healthy guy, like I said, you barely have to visit such places. Or even if you're doing a checkup, that's once or twice a year at most. So if you add all those costs together, it's going to run you around 2,000 to 2,500 Canadian. So let's say you're not a very fancy dude, you don't go all out, you live a pretty fun but decent basic lifestyle. You're going to expect to spend $2,000 a month, multiplied by 12, that's 24,000. Let's call it 25,000 multiplied by 10. So in 10 years, you're spending 250,000, a quarter million Canadian. So if you multiply that by 4, that's $1 million for 40 years. If you don't ever want to work again, then just multiply by the necessary amount of years that you expect to live. So if you're going to be living here for 50 years, that's 1.25 million Canadian dollar. So American dollar is 0.75 of whatever Canadian is. So 1.25 million in Canadian would cost you 1 mil roughly in American for 50 years living in Asia. But then you're gonna ask me the very next question, which is, what about inflation? So you're right. That same 25,000 a year is not going to last you in 5 years. It's going to be a different rate due to inflation. It might be twice the amount. So what do? Well, you can invest it. Hopefully in a smart, wise investment that is going to give you a return equivalent or higher to inflation. So let's say inflation on average is 2-3% a year. If you can invest at 5%, then you're laughing. You're gonna beat the inflation and have some extras as well. So you don't have to worry about those rising costs. Another thing you can do is have multiple streams of income. That's why I always advocate working hard and saving money, and take that money and investing it. And never think about it. Use it for emergency. Think about it as an emergency fund. And then you have multiple stream of income which you can rely on to live day to day. And that's what my channel is all about. It's becoming more competent, more knowledgeable, and more confident, so that you can make more money and you don't have to worry about having $1 million to retire forever in Asia. You have your eye on the next target, 10 or 100 million. And you're not just barely getting by and thinking about every small expenditure that you have to expend. All right guys, that's the video. So just multiply that $25,000 a year by the number of years you can live in Asia. And that's how much money you need to live here. Subscribe, watch my live, watch my shorts, and follow me on other social media such as X, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. It's all Darren Walking By. All right, see you guys next time.